everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be working in my sketchbook, and this is kind of going to be like a draw along with me video, so stick around if you want to see how we're going to add to this spread with paint markers. So I'm almost done with this sketchbook. I have like 4 pages left and I really don't want to be done with it. I've spent so much time in this sketchbook and it's become an accumulation of just a lot of fun memories and experiences and learning and growth that I'm kind of maybe afraid to be done with it. So I'm going through some of these emptier pages and figuring out where I can add to it, just because I might be having like separation anxiety. I'm finding ways to just not be done with it. So I opened up this very first spread. It has kind of become like a spread of all of my favorite characters from TV shows that I've been watching. That wasn't the intention when I started this spread, but that's kind of what it's turned into, and I can't really complain because it's just been really fun to add one piece at a time and not be so worried about the big picture. So yeah, I thought today might be a great day to just add a few characters to the spread. Now, I am fully aware that you probably don't watch the exact same TV shows that I watch, so it's less about the actual TV show and more just about the art. So I will mention who it is, but then I kind of won't really talk too much about the TV show. I'm not here to try to convince you to watch something. This first one is Juliet Nichols from the show Silo. I was looking through the internet and just kind of trying to find a good reference for this character, and I noticed that she's pretty nondescript. There's nothing really about her that stands out versus every other character, so it was kind of hard for me to make her look like her. So what I mean by that is normally a human, in my eyes, has something that stands out. An aspect to their face that looks different from every other person, that you can kind of exaggerate that one aspect so that it's known who that person is. But this girl is pretty nondescript, so she doesn't have that one thing that stands out. She's just kind of like a pretty girl, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, it makes it pretty tricky for me to draw. I also didn't spend that much time trying to get her proportions right. I was really mainly just excited to start drawing, and so yeah, I just kind of jumped into it, went loosey-goosey, didn't take it too seriously, and just kind of let myself have fun with it and zone out a little. I've been itching to get better at paint markers specifically. This spread has kind of been my paint marker portrait practice zone, with the exception of Mr. Milkshake up there in the corner. So I want to get better at paint markers. I'm not great at blending them yet, and I want to get great at blending them and just kind of get more comfortable with using them, because I have to think really, really hard when I use paint markers. And I know that the more I use them, the more comfortable I will get with them, and the less that I will have to think really, really hard whenever I use them. So let's get to it. I have 5 markers here. I'm going to arrange them in lightest to darkest. That's the only way that makes sense to me, is to arrange them in a certain order. So I pick out this face color. I thought that it would be like this neutral face color based on the swatch sheet, and as I'm using it, it's turning out very pink. I know that it will dry a different color, but it's too pink for me. So to answer my question, I would take a screenshot and send it to Procreate so I can swatch out a dry section of the face versus the swatch paper and put them side by side, and they are in fact different. So the conclusion that I've come to is that the yellow paper absorbs some of the yellowness in the marker and turns it pink. I don't know if there's any scientific backing to that. That's just what my instincts say. I could be absolutely going crazy here. So in order to tone down the pinkness of her face, I go over it with a yellow toned skin color, and then I continue on with the rest of the body, only to see that it's very yellow compared to her face. So then I just do the same thing that I did for her face, give it the same pink, and then yellow over it, and the body matches. After adding in some pretty minimal shading to the body, I move on to the hair, and this part was a lot of fun because you can kind of play off of how not 100% opaque these markers are. Every line that you do kind of builds up on each other, and you can see the lines underneath it. So the way that you add the hair, the pen strokes come through and adds its own really cool texture. I tried adding 3 different colors in total to the hair just to give it some dimension. And then I move on to the face, and the face is very intimidating to me because one wrong move and you screw up the whole face. So I added very minimal lines that I needed to the face, and then just kind of moved on, hoping that I could get the face done better with line art. I actually really enjoyed doing the shirt too, because I'm starting to get more used to how paint markers work, and learning that since they're not totally opaque, you can kind of play off of that and use that to your advantage to get certain textures. So that was really cool. It made this shirt look like linen instead of just a blank shirt. So I intentionally left the coloring for this girl very minimal, knowing that I would go in with line art and matching the style of the spread so far with the lines for the shadows and all that stuff. This was her tattoo, and I think it looks really cool. And honestly, I'm not really sure if I noticed that she had this tattoo in the TV show, which was kind of funny. And now that she's done, time to take a little breather. I like how you can see the reference up there in the corner of this shot. I'm moving on to the second character now, and I am so excited to do this guy. He is so nasty looking. He is Ghoul, or the Ghoul, from the Fallout TV show. Now, I know that I've also been doing a lot of Fallout shorts lately, and the artwork is just really cool. I love the characters, I love everything about it. But I have to remember, I'm not trying to sell you on anything, so here we go with the character. This is Ghoul. He is a zombie man, and he has no nose, and his face is kind of falling off, which is going to be so fun to draw. There are just a lot of elements to him that you don't see very often in people because people are alive and actually have faces. Anyway, so I am just mapping out the face right now, trying to get all the landmarks in the right spot. And this is really fun because he has more landmarks than most people, because you can see like his actual eye socket and like his nose hole. I was actually debating whether or not I should leave him as a sketch because he's so sketchable, but I decided that I actually need to honor my point in doing this in the first place and actually do the paint pen practice like I intended. And I have to tell you from the future that I am so happy that I did this because magic happens, and this is my favorite portrait of all time. I love how this guy turns out. Okay, so normally when I use paint markers, I don't ever really think to blend them together. It's just not something that my instincts tell me that I can do. So getting into the muscle memory and just like the realization of, oh yeah, you can blend these and it will look good, it will look okay. It's something that's different to me. And now I know that people blend these all together. That's what they were designed for. They're an art medium. They're supposed to be blended together. But for some reason in my head, it's just so hard for me to unlock the blending instinct. And I guess that's just something that's going to take time and patience and practice to unlock. So that's what I'm doing. I think the thing that makes it the easiest for me is to put down the darkest color first and then blend with your lighter color. And don't worry so much about getting your lighter color dirty, quote unquote, because it will always come out and it will get back to that normal color that it's supposed to be. It's all just part of using the tool. So much of this portrait was actually me just trying to figure out how to hold my pens in a way that worked. Because the only way that you can get them to blend great is if you use it while it's still wet on the paper. So I had to keep going back and forth between the markers very quickly before the marker actually dried out on the paper. And the best way that I found to do that was to hold the caps in my left hand. And then every time that I set the marker back into the cap, I don't click it all the way in. I just kind of hold it there and try not to dump it out. Now, since this is the very first page of the sketchbook, it's like that yellow paper that comes before all the white pages. I don't know if it's the same quality as the other papers, so it's starting to pill a lot. And I might try at the end to pick it off. We'll see if it'll come off. But in the meantime, there is another technique to using paint markers that I have used in the past, and it's worked up to a degree, but I want to test it out a little bit more. It's to go tip to tip and grab some of the color from one marker and put it to the other marker. And it's one way of blending just very slightly and minimally. And it feels very wrong to get the color from one marker onto the tip of the other marker, but I know that it will come off and it's not that big of a deal, but it still just kind of like makes me grind my teeth a little bit. And I decide to just go in with my left hand. I'm not left-handed, so this is pretty tricky for me. I don't know why why I'm even trying, but I figure, you'll never know if you're left-handed suddenly unless you try it out every once in a while. So I'm picking out this blue color. This is the lightest blue color that I have. It's still pretty blue. And this is my attempt at getting I think it's called reflective light. It's not like the light that's shining on your face. It's the light that's reflecting off of the things behind you onto the other side of your face. I'm not very pleased with how that turned out because it kind of muddied up the color around the neck and made it look very green, and I wasn't going for green. And here's more of me trying to become ambidextrous. Now I get to move on to these nasty teeth. They are quite yellow, and, he's a ghoul. He's gonna be gross looking. And that kind of gives you some liberties to just kind of run with your intrusive thoughts a little bit and make him look as gross as you want to. And that's good. That's a good thing, to make him look gross. So this actor's name is Walton Goggins, and one thing that makes him look the most like Walton Goggins is his mouth, in my opinion. He has a very distinct mouth that not everybody has. So I spent a lot of time on his mouth to try to get his mouth to look like him, because if I can get the mouth right, then you can kind of trick your eyes into seeing all the other features as Walton Goggins features. I hope that makes sense. These eyes aren't looking great. Let's make this iris a little bit bigger. Okay, I think that looks better. It will have to suffice. So now it's time to move on to the hat. I picked out two different brown colors, dark brown colors, and also a black so I could enrich the darkness of the brown under the hat closest to his head. Now, I didn't take this hat as seriously as I did the face. I just kind of added in the colors. Kind of paint by number here. Although now that I think about it, there's really no other way to do it because the hat is pretty simple. It's not like that complicated of a item. So just add in the brown, and then I'm also going to go in with a yellow and add in the lighting, making it look like it's actually being shined on by the sun. And if it's doing it on his face, then it needs to do it on his hat too, and we'll also be adding it to his shirt and, whatever other areas the sun might be hitting. I am so in love with this color blue. It's my absolute favorite color of all time. It's like a dusty blue. Love it so much. And I love that this is the color of his shirt. It just makes me so happy. But also he has this really cool jacket on top that's maybe not jacket, coat? I don't know. I'm from Arizona, so I pretty much only ever wear a hoodie. I don't know what everything is called. I forget my point of even talking about this. Something about his coat. Oh, I really like the brown coat that's on top. Okay, that's all I had to say was he's got a cool style. It is so crazy to me that adding in such tiny details like the sun rays with yellow adds so much life to a picture. So now that I'm used to the depth and the contrast of the portrait all in all, I decide to go in and make some of the darks even darker with actual black and use my newfound blending skills to blend it out into this dark maroon color. Adding it to the mouth really helps liven up his mouth and give his mouth even more 3D-ness to it. And also under the hat, you know, the places that really need it. I'm not going to do this everywhere, but just the places where it would make the most difference. And then I'm going in and adding in just a little fix to this green on the neck. And here we go. This is how the ghoul turns out, and this is how Juliet Nichols turns out. Doing this project was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming along with me. I hope that you learned something by me learning something, and I will see you next time.